In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Peter, the rock. Do you love me? There seems to be inconsistency when Peter was recognized as the rock foundation of our church. The good thing to our Catholic faith, we could attribute our faith not from a pastor, not from a minister, not from a preacher, but from Jesus himself. When he called Peter, "You are rock, and upon this rock I will build my church." Peter, our first pope, and historically you can check it, even Google mo na lang. The popes from Peter until Pope Francis today, I'm not sure, I may be mistaken. Something around 265 popes until now, that we are more than 2,000 years. Peter is known to be the strong man. He's even temperamental. Mainitin yung ulo. Remember when Jesus was arrested at the Garden of Olives? He drew his sword and cut the ear of one of those who were arresting. Ang tapang niya. Siga, the rock. Powers, they are genius, they are perfect model of perfection. You even recognize Peter. He's very passionate. He wanted to jump into the water and walk with Jesus. Malakas ang kanyang loob. Even when Jesus predicted his own crucifixion, he talked about, "Someday the elders and the chief priests will arrest me and I'll be killed. On the third day I will rise again." That is in Matthew 16:21. Ano sinabi ni Peter? "God forbid, Lord, you shall never happen to you. Over my dead body, hindi mangyayari sa iyan, Lord. You will not be arrested. You will not be, nobody will touch you. Ako, dadaan sa akin." Siga, the rock. We can have our own expression of our strength, our position, our education, our authority, our success stories, the feathers in our hats. We can talk about them. We drop names. Our success can be part of our language, the rock. And yet, the gospel today, on the contrary, speaks the other side of Peter. It talks about his vulnerability. It talks about his weak side, or even soft side. I remember when Peter was called in Luke chapter 5, the core of the first disciples. He said, when Peter saw this, when Jesus was at the boat of Peter, wala silang nakuwang isda. And then suddenly Jesus brought them large number of fish. Peter knelt before Jesus and said, "Go away from me, Lord. I am a sinful man." Marami din pagkakamali si Peter. Even when there was this story of the transfiguration, nabigla si Peter, overcome with the presence of Moses and Elijah and Jesus. Sabi ni Peter, "Lord, I will make 3 tents, one for you, one for Elijah, and one for Moses." And Peter did not know what he was speaking. Hindi niya alam ang ginagawa niya. In many ways, Peter also showed his weakness in the Gospels. Marami pagkwento. Nung lumundag siya, naglakad-lakad siya, no? Pero nung biglang umulan malakas, nabasa siya, he began to sink. Sabi ni Jesus sa kanya, "Peter, you man of little faith." And ultimately, we know, Jesus asked him, "Peter, do you love me?" 3 times in the Gospel. Because we know, in John chapter 13:38, sabi ni Jesus, "You will lay down your life to me, Peter?" Very truly I tell you, before the rooster crows, you already denied me 3 times. Representation of the very limitations of Peter. Meron po kaming Kapampangan play. Ang title ng play, Tulawok. It represents the 3 denials of Peter. Tulawok. Tulawok ning manok. The crow of the chicken, of the rooster. Mayroong song doon. Actually, yung Tulawok play, it is about the life, suffering, death, and resurrection of Jesus. It is a sarsuela of the religious from the Kapampangan perspective of Teatro Kapampangan and RP Santa Rita. One song then, it was written, Peter was very proud. Ako pa! Ako pa! Ako pa! He's very proud. Ako pa! Ako pa sa Tagalog. And then, when he saw how weak he was, nung nagkasala na siya, nung nagkamali na siya, the pride went down to humility. He said, the next part of the song, Akupin, Akupin, Akupin. It is me. It is my fault. It is my sin. Later on, we realize it's not about Peter after all. It's about the plan of God for him. It's not the strength of Peter. It is the power of God in him. It is not the will of Peter. It is the will of God through Peter. Ganyan din po sa buhay natin. God does not call the able. Hindi naman tinatawag ni Jesus yung magagaling, yung malalakas, at saka maraming abilidad. Sometimes He will show how weak you are so that we will depend on Jesus. We will depend on God. Pag magagaling tayong masyadong bilib sa sarili, sometimes there are experiences that we are humbled. God does not call the able. He enables whom He calls. Whatever we have, it is God's capacity through us. Meron pong isang writer. Ang pangalan niya, Marian Williamson. During the inauguration of Nelson Mandela in 1994, after his 27 years of imprisonment in South Africa, he used these lines of Miriam Williamson in his speech. It says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond nature. It is our light, not our darkness, that makes us frightened. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. You're playing small. That does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people will not feel insecure with your presence. We are all meant to shine as children of God. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is just in some of us. It is in every one of us. And we let our own light shine. We unconsciously give others the permission to do the same. As we are all liberated from our own fear, our presence automatically liberates others. Let your strength not overcome the reality of your weakness. Sa pagkatao natin, meron tayong kakayahan, pero kilalanin natin ang ating kahinaan. That makes us real persons. Malapit na po yung Father's Day. June yata, third Sunday yung Father's Day. Meron akong nakitang commercial. Yung commercial ng, hindi ko nang pinopromote, yung Dove for Men, yung sabon. Ganito yung commercial, parang mga lalaki, yung isa yata, piloto, yung isa engineer, yung isa nagba-bodybuilding, puro muscle. Men are tough. Tapos second part ng commercial, umuwi sila sa bahay. May baby sila. Yung piloto, parang nilalaro ng anak niya na lumilipad siya. Tapos yung engineer, kasama niya yung anak niya, nakaluhod siya, parang gumagawa siya ng bricks, no? Play. And then yung mamasel, binubuhat niya yung anak niya dito, naglalaro sila. Then at the end of the commercial, sabi niya, a real man cares. Parang gaano ka man kaastig, gaano man kalakas yung boses mo at pag nagagalit ka, gaano man kakayahan mo, the better part of you is your vulnerability. To love like Peter, to be humble like Peter, to accept forgiveness, and to follow the will of God like Peter. Let this be our invitation. Peter the rock, do you love me? In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit.